Hello and welcome to my channel, A Love of Audiobooks. Today I want to talk about some of my favorite novels. I feel like this is a great way for you to get to know me and what I like to read. I also hope to inspire you and your readings. I created this list to showcase my evolution of reading as well as the genres I like to read. Please leave a comment below regarding your favorite novels or any book recommendations you have for me. The first book I want to talk about is Anne of Green Gables by L.M. Montgomery. Anne of Green Gables to me is quintessential reading. It is a book that evokes a ton of great family memories for me. I was introduced to the 1985 film as a young child by my mom. It quickly became one of my favorite movies. This love for the movie developed into a love for the book. There are so many reasons why I love this book. First and foremost is because of Anne. She is an amazing character who is smart, imaginative, loyal, and easy to love. Her journey from being an orphan nobody wants to being a huge part of Avonlea's community is thoroughly enjoyable. At this book's very core are characters who are flawed but lovable, especially Marilla and Matthew Cuthbert, who allow Anne to find a home full of love and to follow her dreams. Another reason Anne of Green Gables is one of my favorites is because it was the first book I can remember rooting for a couple. I love the back and forth between Anne and Gilbert. I also liked that Gilbert was not intimidated by Anne. He saw her as an equal. This book is full of moments that will make you laugh and cry. I am so grateful for the memories I have with this book. I am grateful that I have gotten to share my love of this book with my niece and nephew. The second book I want to talk about is Harry Potter by J.K. Rowling. The Harry Potter series was monumental in the person I've grown up to be. My first memories of Harry Potter was it being a hugely popular book in the 6th grade. Somehow 12-year-old me was way too cool to read the books everyone else was reading, even if it did really look cool. Flash forward to the release of the first movie. My aunt took my sisters and I couldn't get enough. This set off a lifelong love for Harry Potter. This involved midnight showings and book releases. One of my favorite things about Harry Potter is how much I shared it with my family. My dad joined us for 6 midnight showings, even though it was not something he particularly loved. He loved us so much that he wanted to share this experience with us. While Anne of Green Gables gave me a glimpse into the world of literature, Harry Potter really built a foundation of love and enjoyment with reading. It was a series that was unfolding and building a community around it. A fantasy series that pitted good against evil, that continually got darker as the characters and I grew older. Mostly, it allowed me to see how valuable everyone is. These books made me a more understanding individual, more open to the people who are not just like me. It taught me how important being respectful of all people is. I will not bring J.K. Rowling into this discussion as I view her as just the catalyst of the wizarding world. Her personal opinions do not sway me away from loving these books. The importance of these books have continued in my life as I read these annually. I continue to share these great books with my family and the larger Harry Potter community. Lord of the Rings by J.R.R. Tolkien. Lord of the Rings is the classic fantasy novel. This 3-part series follows the Fellowship as it works to destroy the Ring of Power. We start in the beautiful Shire with Bilbo Baggins celebrating his 11th birthday and leaving the ring for Frodo. This sets in motion the need for Frodo to flee the Shire with the help of Sam, Merry, and Pippin. On their journey, they are joined by Strider, who delivers them to Rivendell, where the Fellowship is created. Although the Fellowship is broken at the end of the first novel, the remaining pieces play their roles in the upcoming conflict and the destruction of the Ring of Power. Tolkien does an amazing job at weaving the tale of Middle-earth. His love of creating languages is on full display with these novels. It makes the world of Middle-earth feel authentic. When it comes to these novels, there is a lot to discover. It is easy to immerse yourself in Tolkien's writings. You could talk about Tolkien himself, his struggle to write these novels, and the fact that it took over a decade to complete them. There is the in-depth analysis of the languages, themes, poetry, illustrations, and Tolkien's influences. These are novels that have college courses built around them. Personally, I love the fantasy of it all. This epic battle of good against evil, the incredible characters you get to know. Sam being an absolute hero who stands by Frodo no matter what. Seeing the tale of Strider from Ranger to his rightful place as King of Gondor. Faramir, who is given a more dramatic role in the movie, but was true to himself. Knowing how his brother died and allowing Frodo to leave, while accepting that this meant he was to deal with the wrath of his father. When talking about these books, it is not difficult to talk about the amazing film adaptation directed by Peter Jackson. This is another one that holds great family memories for me. Going to see this with my dad and my siblings, it just brings my love of these books full circle. Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. When talking about my favorite books, I cannot leave off Pride and Prejudice. This is one of the greatest novels of all time, a complete classic. This novel has it all: beautiful Regency landscape, will they or won't they love story, and drama. It is a novel that has inspired generations of readers, books, and movies. For me, it was the foundation that I built my love of British literature on. But mostly, I am a total sucker for love stories and strong female characters. Elizabeth Bennet is certainly one of those. She is not just looking for a husband to keep her, but for someone who is her equal and who she loves. There is no settling for the Mr. Collins of the world. The love story between Elizabeth and Darcy has its ups and downs, but is one that brings joy to me. Moreover, I love the intricacies of Austen's literature, the social commentary, which includes social classes and economics, the free indirect speech, which is a technique commonly employed by Austen, which is when a third-person narrator takes on the style and voice of one of the characters in the novel. All these combine together to drive my love for Austen's Pride and Prejudice. It also enabled me to love all of Austen's works. This novel was a gateway to other incredible British authors. Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. As with Austen's Pride and Prejudice, Jane Eyre is an absolute classic. It is a novel I read in high school and is still one I find relevant in my life. Like I said, I love strong female characters. Jane Eyre is the definition of one. Orphan Jane is constantly shown the cruelness of the world during her upbringing. First by her Aunt Reed and cousins, secondly by the overseers of Lowood Charity School, and thirdly by Mr. Rochester and his omission of his first marriage. Even with all this trauma and cruelty, Jane's spirit is not broken. She continues to face adversity throughout this novel, but grows through it. Jane Eyre was ahead of its time. It shows a heroine who is passionate and has desires and has a strong personality. She would have been considered outspoken for the Victorian age. Not only that, but this was a realistic portrayal of a woman. There was no shying away from her desires or passions. I will also add that I love the gothic feel of this novel. The old estate, weird noises in the middle of the night, and the overall atmosphere. The Martian by Andy Weir. The Martian quickly found a place in my heart. I love science fiction, and this one was an impulse buy. I had seen the trailer for the movie and decided to spend my Audible credit on it. I was not disappointed. I loved this book and the movie adaptation. A storm forces an abort on the Ares 3 mission. This causes the crew to do an emergency evacuation from Mars, during which Mark Watney is thought to have been killed by flying debris and is left behind. When Mark comes to, he has to deal with this new situation and isolation. The Martian focuses on Watney's ability to work the problems and to hopefully be rescued. Watney is a likable character. He is funny, smart, and emotionally intelligent. While the novel centers on Watney, there are many other characters who are just as awesome as Watney. This novel really helped me get through the pandemic. I love the story of the whole world working together to save one man's life. I feel like it is something that is highly lacking in today's world. I have done a few reviews for this book on my channel. Bonus, this movie has some great music. Relic by Douglas Preston and Lincoln Child. This is a book I purchased on a whim. I was going through a monster book phase and remembered bits and pieces from the 90s movie. It turned out to be a fun read. I thoroughly enjoyed the characters, the museum atmosphere, and the mystery. The New York Museum of Natural History is just days away from opening a new exhibition when two young boys are murdered in the museum. The murders continue, but the museum directors still plan to go forward with the big opening day party for the exhibition. It is up to Margot Green to figure out what is going on and to stop the museum beast. I love interesting characters, and this novel did not disappoint. They were all very entertaining. Pendergast with his Sherlock Holmes persona, who is intelligent and a southern gentleman. Diagosta, who is a tough cop, but when you get to know him, he is kind and loyal. Margot Green, the graduate student who is struggling with completing her degree or helping her family business. And Smithback, the nosy writer who wants to write about all the goings on in the museum. These characters really help the story along. I also enjoyed the suspense. What will happen next? As well as the suspending any notions of realism. This is a supernatural thriller. The Millennium Trilogy by Stieg Larsson. This series includes The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, The Girl Who Played with Fire, and The Girl Who Kicked the Hornet's Nest. They are all amazing. The strength of this series lies with its two main characters, Mikhail Blomkvist and Lisbeth Salander. Mikhail is the balance to Lisbeth. He is a man who has his flaws, yet is a good man. Lisbeth is the definition of a strong female character. She has been used terribly by the men in her life and has a storied past. Lisbeth is unafraid to use violence, unafraid to live her life outside the confines of society. Lisbeth is worth reading these novels for alone. Her character is incredible. These novels are not for the faint of heart. There is violence, rape, and murder in the pages. These books are explosive. They draw the readers in and give you characters to root for. I will preface my love for these novels with the note that Stieg Larsson's background as a journalist shines through at certain points, especially in The Girl Who Played with Fire. He is overly descriptive of the furniture Lisbeth buys. Other than that, he has written some great novels which compel the reader to dive in. Murder on the Orient Express by Agatha Christie. I grew up watching Poirot with my family. I loved the show, and this love grew into a major love for Agatha Christie's novels. I chose to include Murder on the Orient Express because it has so much to enjoy about it. A train, a murder, and Hercule Poirot. This train is full of people with alibis and motives. The reader is left to wonder how the seemingly perfect murder took place and who has done it. The good thing is, the reader can rely on Poirot to solve this crime. Beyond Poirot, the cast of characters are fascinating. The setting is great, a snowed-in train with nowhere to go, and there's a plot twist that no one sees coming. This novel is one of the many reasons Agatha Christie is the queen of murder mysteries. Christie is a genius who has written so many wonderful murder mysteries. Her novels are the blueprint for the cozy mystery. This is nothing to bat an eye at. I have a great love for Agatha Christie and have devoured most of her novels. And this one is one I particularly love. I just want to thank you for watching my video. I would also ask that if you enjoyed my video, please like and subscribe. If you have any recommendations or comments, please leave them below.